My name is Ryan Hand from Handmade Hockey, and you're listening to the Sheriff's Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to an exclusive episode of The Sheriff. Guys, today I am blessed to have a living legend that is actually still playing. My guest today, ladies and gentlemen, other than Brandon Sugar Sugden, I would say is one of my biggest rivals in my career. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're only 1 year apart. In our primes, we were similar weight, similar size. We would replace each other on more than one occasion in our careers. We would take our rivalry all the way to Espoo, Finland in a fight tournament, ladies and gentlemen, where Derek the Lion Parker won in a split decision and went on to win ICEWARS back in 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the toughest guys I know. He is currently playing for Laval in the LNAH playoffs. He is currently the holder of the belt, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Derek the Lion Parker, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the intro. It was fun.
I was going to ask you what you thought about it because it was a little bit longer than the average intro. But honestly, Parks, it's been like we were talking before the recording. It's because I just love to have guys on my show that are of similar age, similar experience, because then we're actually able to really get into it. Because, buddy, I don't know about you, but I'm never able to really explain to people what the league in Quebec is really like what it used to be, what it is now. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you being on, my friend.
Yeah, definitely. We're a lot of the same, especially I don't have as much of the American League experience as you, but other than that, we got a lot of the same experiences. You know?
Bro. And
we even have Finland. That was a riot.
But it was one of the best experiences of my life, man. And we're gonna get into the ICEWARS International that I'm a part of it on the media side, and I'm gonna get into it with you. I'm gonna ask a lot of stuff about that's gonna be coming up very soon. But first, Parks, I want to get into probably what's most exciting for me right now is following the LNAH playoffs, bro. And do you know why? Because characters like the Lion, yourself, bro, you came out before the playoffs started and you said, La Belt is back on the line. Explain to me what La Belt is, my friend.
Well, I don't know. I remember when I came back in this league a couple of years ago. When was it? In 2018, 2019 with the Berlin Blackjacks, and I had been out of the league. I was like, who does have the belt? You know, who in this league fucking owns the belt? You know, because you know what there is. There's a guy that's got, you know I own the belt and own the belt in the league, and my first year, and other guys have owned it, and so I kind of brought it out. The actual belt I have is a toy WWF belt that me and my buddies in Melville originally had. that my other buddy had it, and it got passed around. We would have wrestling match, but I pretty much owned it with my buddies when we were in our 20s. And I started bringing it out to kind of get the fans involved and have some fun with it, put it on the line. And I tried to egg on a fight with Kluche in the first round because, but realistically, between you and I, that, and I know it's I love the guy, he's a number 3 at best, probably, although he's been stepping up and fighting a lot of the number 1s from what I know of him, when he used to play on St. George, when there was
Christian
Terrio, Lawson, those guys, he was a number 3 guy and real effective. But I was hoping that he would give me a fight because I love to fight. And so I tried to hang on the belt with them. And this series, I said before the series, because I know Mel really likes to fight too. He's a guy that will kind of go. Although I think he's losing his knack for it after the last couple. But I even said that if he wins the belt over there, I'll hand it over at the end of the series. But I don't think that's going to be the case.
Okay, so Parks, there's two things I want to add to there. And trust me, I'm loving this. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm on the edge of my seat listening to your stories. So now listen, first of all, I want to thank you for having that type of grace. Like, and what I mean by that is, brother, like when I was a kid and I would go to hockey games and stuff, the guys that I would notice were the biggest characters. And usually that would be the tough guy and then maybe like the top scorer that was physical and could chirp and he could stick up for himself, like the Wendell Clark, Cam Neely, that type of deal. So I'd watch these guys and I'd be like, wow, it is so cool that they're like so much more interesting than all the other players. So that's why when I started playing junior, when I started playing pro, I wanted to be a big character because I know how much people appreciate it. Buddy, I'm just as big as a fan as I was a player. I'm still a fan. And I'm a fan of the LNAH. You're my favorite character in the league. So, you know what I'm saying? But there's many people that think like I do, especially people based in Quebec. I'm in Toronto, brother. I can't even see the games right now unless I take a 5-hour drive to Laval, right? But I'm telling you, man, a lot of people appreciate it, Park. And you got to keep this up. Because this is the only league really that has that type of character left, right? And you're the biggest one right now, my friend.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I love that about the Quebec League that they've kept it. I do feel like this could be one of the. Well, I don't know. They always seem to find guys, but it guys like us, me, you, Mel, Belmar, Rock, Lacroix, kind of. We're all kind of dinosaurs, we're getting pretty old, and there really aren't the same young guys that do it like we will, or will do it like we will. The game's changed. Like we were talking about, we know how it is. For us to get one fight at the start of a game is a big deal, but it used to be like a few times a season, like most of the times of the season, it would be like 1959, 1958, 1957, and 1956. And you're in the penalty box, and there was 4 of you in the penalty box, and then the game would start,
Yeah.
And we don't see that anymore just because the kids are a little different, I guess. There's not as many young guys coming up and do the things that we do. That's from the junior changing and everything. I know that in junior my 16-year-old year, I had 38 fights and 43 games in the Western League. So I don't think that they even allow that anymore.
You wouldn't be able to finish the season, Parks, because I think now, as soon as you hit your 3rd or 5th major, you get a 10-game suspension.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the OHL's like that anyway. I don't know about the dub.
I don't know about the dub. Well, but even then, even in that era, I was weighing on the tip into kind of the scales, because I remember I had a meeting with Rob Robson, the commissioner of the league, after I think I had 11 fights in 8 games.
This is in the WHL?
In the WHL when I was 16.
Yeah, playing for Lethbridge, okay.
For Lethbridge, yeah, when I was a 16-year-old. I remember him saying to me, I actually remember this, and he goes to me, he goes, "You have 11 fights in 8 games. That's astronomical." And I remember thinking to myself, I'm a real smart guy. Actually, I was good in physics and a bunch of other stuff. But I remember thinking to myself, what are you doing using a word like astronomical when the guy was 11 fights in 8 games? But I remember him saying those exact words. That's astronomical.
So far, and thanks for sharing that, buddy. That's pretty funny. Here's my question for you. We're talking about the playoffs in the LNAH, Explain to me the format, bro. I don't really understand. It's changed since I've left. I don't get it. I don't get how teams lost and they're still playing. Is it because it's a certain amount of teams?
Well, it's because there's 6 teams in the league, right?
Okay.
So they weren't going to go with just 4 make the playoffs. So they had to make it so 6 teams make the playoffs. So in the first round, first played 6, 2 plays 5, 3 plays 4.
Okay.
And then after that, they took the 2 losers. The loser with the lowest points was out because there was going to be 3 losers, right?
Okay.
So the loser with the lowest points was out.
Which was who? Rivière-du-Loup?
Rivière-du-Loup. They
Okay.
were 6. They were 6, and they lost.
Okay.
So they were out.
They were done a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then Jonquière and Sorel both lost their first series.
So they played each other.
They had to play each other in the best of 3.
And
but
Sorel was victorious in that.
It was Sorel, but because they were losers, end up being in the last place in the playoffs in the standings. So they have to play the first place team.
Okay.
And then because we were third, we finished the league third, but we won. So we're the second, and then we got we're playing third basically. There's 4 teams left. We're playing 2 plus 3 plays 3.
Okay.
But we actually got a kind of a good deal because we're playing the 5th place team.
Exactly. So now you're currently playing Saint George de Beauce, and you know the series right now is it 2-1 or 2-2?
No, 2-0, 2-0 for us.
It's 2-0.
Yeah.
That's right.
We're playing really
you
good.
do a home and home instead of 2-2, 1-1-1. You guys go home and home, right?
Yeah. Every weekend.
So now let's talk about game 1. Now, game 1, I was pretty pumped up, man, because I was watching your posts live.
Yeah.
I'm watching these posts and I'm like, wow, is this ever awesome, man? So I'm first of all, I mean, I saw the belt, I saw LeBelt. And I was like, oh my God, LeBelt is back. He's pulled out LeBelt. He's putting LeBelt on the line.
Yeah.
Those were your words, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. Okay, so LeBelt's come out. Laval fans must be really fired up when you do stuff like that, man. Like, you're playing in the House of Pain. Explain to the listeners what the House of Pain is and what it means to the Lion Derek Parker.
Oh, the House of Pain. Well, we have great fans there, and they've really come to love me there. So I love playing there. But the House of Pain back in the day, because this league has changed over the years.
I had Craig Martin on a couple weeks ago, by the way.
Oh yeah, that was. So
you're talking about that era, right?
That
Craig
era.
Martin, Mike Bajorny,
Pat Cote.
Pat Cote, yeah.
Pat Cote, yeah. I played against Laval when they had Pat Cote, Craig Martin, that I know for sure, and they probably had a whole list of other guys, but those guys were enough to worry about. I think I fought them both, and then there was a brawl after the game, and I think I almost ended in a fight when Pat Cote ran across the ice. Serge Lamel jumped on the ice in street clothes. Like, I was in my hockey underwear.
That was in Saint-Hyacinthe, right?
No,
where was it?
In Laval.
That was in Laval. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. So
that's all.
Okay, so game 1, Parks. Okay, so game 1, the belt's on the line. Obviously, I saw round 1 and round 2. I saw it. I tuned in. I loved it how there's a couple of guys, and maybe you could accredit them, that post these videos that are very big supporters of the LNAH. And you know what I mean? And you get all these different angles. And then there's Big Ben photo, right? Is that the way to say it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
right?
Big Ben photo.
And it's awesome. And it's awesome, bro. Now tell me, when was round 1? What part of the game was round 1?
We, starting first start of the playoffs, right? Or start of the series, kind of tight. We scored early. I wanted him to start. Like that's how ready I was. Like I was hoping
you guys get the last decision, so you're wanting to see if they're starting Dave Hamel.
Yeah, Dave Hamel, but I think he was ready too, and I think he was a little confident because I think in the last series he changed the momentum for his team a couple times.
Oh, so he was very confident coming in.
Yeah, and there was a comment on the Facebook that he said, "I destroyed you all year. You want more?" And I'm like, "Never enough."
I saw that.
Yeah.
Saw that.
Now,
anyways,
we scored. I don't know how early it was. Probably about 5 minutes in. It was early enough that it was like, yes, it's such a monkey off your back, right? When you score the first goal, especially the first goal of the playoffs, or the series, and then they put him out there, and I was like, and then I always got to ask my coach if I'm ready to go. He said I was never ready to react, and then I'm like, I was going out there, and so I think he was confident. He think he could change things, and then had a good fight. Came in with him. He's a lefty, and I have been kind of like, they're not my strength. Fighting lefties, I don't think they're anybody's strength, And but I was ready to come in with I was going to match his power shot and the whole thing, and then we locked up, and I kind of dropped the one in the fight. We're going back and forth a little bit. He doesn't ever get me, and then I kind of dropped to one knee, and I get up and I fucking land a bomb on him, and drop. Made a difference.
Yeah, 100%.
Got to put the hand in the air.
Here's my question to you, Lion. Obviously, you're the type of guy that is able to admit when he wins, admit when he loses, right?
Yeah.
And every real fighter, if you're a real fighter, that's how it is. It's the guys that can never admit that they've lost the fight. They're not real ones. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, would you say that in round one, you had a win by TKO?
I think I could call it that.
Okay, because that's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I could call it that for sure because I landed that one and he dropped.
Okay.
It was not a balanced thing. It was a buckle your knees kind of punch.
Yeah. So now round number 2, numéro 2. When was that? What part of the game was that?
I think it was in the second period, and I think we just made it 4-1.
So you guys are up 4-1.
Yeah, it could have been 3-1. I think we scored 2 in a row.
Okay.
And because they scored after they scored, I think we went 1-1. It might have been 2-1. I can't remember. But it was in the third period, and we had just scored. I know Brennan Amell, who's a beauty, one of my favorite. You know how you said you're a fan? I'm always a fan of my team. I have some favorite players. And Brennan Amell and Nick Poulin are two of my favorite. They're just two younger guys, and they played together as kids, and they're unreal together. And they've stepped up in the playoffs. Anyways, he had a snipe. I remember his snipe. And then I got to go on the ice and pound him from the not on the box because I was and I was going out there and he's like, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna.
Okay, so as soon as your boy scores, you saw them give Hamel the tap.
Yeah, Hamel went out.
You're going out, so that enabled you to just go right out.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So you get to go out. You get to join the celebration, but now it's go time. Go time, right?
Oh yeah.
Right? Now, you're in the House of Pain. What was the crowd like that night? Was it a good crowd? Like, was it around 2?
Oh, yeah, 2,500.
Oh, wow. So great crowd. Great crowd. At the House of Pain.
Crowd.
How loud was it at this point?
Oh, it was loud. I don't know if I noticed. Oh, I probably do notice because I think they're chanting Parker. You know?
Yeah, they were, buddy. Yeah. Every video angle I saw, I was hearing the Parker chant.
Yeah.
So now here's my question. Well, first of all, describe round 2, and then I'm going to ask you the question.
Oh, well, round 2 went. I was ready. I had my hands up again. That was my thing going into the left. fighting the lefty. I don't know if I just give all my tricks out, but it just is what it is. Having a good guard and trying to be able to throw that right punch when I need to. Things developed a little bit different when I watched the little video. I think he came in with his, and I backed off on it, and then I came over the top, and I really gave it to him.
Yeah,
just gave it to him. He was off balance the whole time.
Yeah,
and I was throwing punches. He went down, and then refs are doing a good job at least letting us let each other up, and letting that happen. So I kind of let him up again, and then threw a couple more punches on him, but kind of dominated that fight. He was off balance.
Yeah. So I consider that one a clear victory. Would you agree with that one?
Yeah, clear victory. That was a dominant victory. Yeah.
Yeah. So now let's be honest here, Mr. Parker. When I first heard you say the comment about the refs like doing a good job, at first I thought that you were referring to doing a good job as far as getting control, the one linesman getting control of his guy, the other linesman getting control of his guy. That's what I thought you meant at first. And then I realized that you meant that they were letting you guys kind of get back up, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Let's be honest here. At the end of that round 2, the linesman did do a good job in the regard, right? Okay, so now why do you think they had to do a good job?
Because he was upset that he had a bad fight, you know.
Well, what did you say but what about the track record?
What's that?
What about the track record? I find that they did that because recently he's been crossing the line when the fight's been over.
Yeah, right? He has been a little bit,
like, just being honest, Parks. Like, I'm not here to badmouth anybody, right? But like we talked about, we're dinosaurs, bro. I've been done for a couple of years. I tried to make a comeback before COVID, right? But I'm done. You're still going. You called us dinosaurs. The new kids are a different breed, bro. They don't make them like how it used to be.
Yeah.
And what I'm finding is that the young guys, and we got to hold people accountable, man. The young guys, I'm finding, do not have the same respect. It's different. Instead of it being like a battle of warriors, it has to be like this crazy villain type stuff where you have to hate each other so much. And like, I feel that's how that's his way of doing it, where our minds are different. We just look at each other as warriors on the battlefield. The better man's gonna win. You don't hit a guy when he's down. You honor the code. It's over, and you give each other a pat unless you really don't like each other off the ice. Is that right?
Well, I think call him a kid because he is a little younger.
He's really young, bro.
Really young. He told me when I was
under 30, isn't he?
Yeah. And when I was in St. Jerome, he said he used to watch me. He was one of my fans, actually. And but I think the kid's learning. I think I called it out on one of my posts.
So you already thought this
of the belt, that we're not gonna hit each other when we're down, you know, like.
So you've noticed it.
Yeah, not terribly, because I always get to watch because, like I said, we're in the same networks of people and fans that share the videos, but I haven't watched all his fights, you know, but I've heard people complain about it. Okay. I know in my last fight against him, round 3, I fall backwards, and his instinct was probably to fucking punch me.
Oh yeah, man.
But I think he stopped himself, and he kind of like face washed me. It was kind of like.
Okay, so you recognize that?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. So that's a good thing then.
Yeah, right? I think he stopped himself and face washed me instead of going
drilling you when you were vulnerable. Yeah. Okay, so now Park. So now I just want to expand on it a little bit because I'm also a Dave Hamel fan too, right?
Yeah.
I've had a little history with Dave Hamel when he first came into the league, right? And to be honest, I've always had problems with him. There was one time he even like somehow managed me to like, he didn't mean it, but he somehow managed to like poke me in the eye. And I literally couldn't see anything. And he's just drilling me while I couldn't see nothing. Right. And like, that's how it goes sometimes. Right. But what I found is when I tried to make that comeback in 2019, I found that Hamel didn't play cool. It wasn't cool, bro. He obviously beat me. Like he was definitely the better man, but this guy was drilling me when I was down. He'd already won the fight. Yeah. I'm like, dude, like, come on, man. Like, what's up, man? You know what I mean? I'm a 38-year-old guy trying to play, and this guy's drilling me when I'm down. So at the same time, I appreciate Dave Hamel for how big of a monster he is.
Yeah.
Like, you have to admit,
he's legit. You got to respect him.
You would rather fight a guy like Dave Hamel that's a big challenge than a guy that you might not think too much of, right? Like you want that challenge, don't you?
Well, yeah, for sure. I need a guy that wants to fight me, you know?
Yeah, and Dave Hamel does.
Yeah,
Dave Hamel's been killing guys. Like I'm a fan of the man. You know what I'm saying? I just want him to realize that there's been a lot of warriors before him, and we're all watching him, and we appreciate him. But he's got to play by the rules. He's a very dominant player. But you guys contesting for the belt right now is the most exciting thing in hockey, in my opinion. So kudos to both of you, Parks. Like this isn't one against the other on my show. But I just want to be honest here because this is an honest show, man. And awareness becomes action. And I hope that Dave listens to this.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think he's doing good. I think me calling it out on the one belt post probably made a difference with him because he the last game I played against him, we even had one of those fights where he asked me in the box. He's like, "Hey, do you want to drop the gloves and then do 1, 2, 3 and go?" You know. And
really?
In the last end of the season, I think it was my last fight against him in the season. We did one of those. We dropped our gloves off. We undid our helmets, grabbed on each other, and we did 1, 2, 3 and go. And he said that he added me on Facebook after. He's like, "I love fighting with you, you know, like you're a legend," or something like that. He had
you are.
You know, he had, you know, he was kind of like, and I've seen him after fighting with Lacroix, them on the same, you know, having a picture after with each other. So I guess he's trying to be part of the old boys club. I guess. You know?
Yes.
So if he wants
a seat
at the table, he's got to follow the rules. You know, so guys think that she's legit, but I think he's been doing it this series. You know, it's been mostly him mostly him down, but. The last fight, I know he stopped him. He probably stopped himself, and he kind of face washed me. The guy said he tried to knock my face off the ice, but I think he was caught in not knowing what to do when he face washed me. I think that's where it came from.
I think that's a fair assessment, my friend. For sure.
Yeah.
So tell me about the upcoming games for Laval against St. George de Beauce.
Well, we play them Friday and Saturday, and
Friday's where? Where's Friday?
In Laval.
Oh, wow. So Friday, House of Pain.
Yeah. We're hoping, you know, fans are talking. I saw their site to say, bring a friend, everybody bring a friend. Let's try and get 3,000 in there. So we're starting, and we're winning. Like, it's playoffs, so every game, you know, it's like, you're pretty tuckered up pretty tight until you score that first goal and how things go, you know, like every game could go a little bit different. I know last game they scored the first goal, but it was kind of like one of those dump in off the wall. I actually didn't see it on the bench, but kind of like it was a dump in and somehow it went in, you know, one of those unlucky ones, you know, shit happens sometimes. Right.
Yeah.
And even our goals, none of our goals were all that pretty. And so let's hope we win both games, but because we're playing really good hockey right now. We're a good team, and we're playing our game, you know, like we're playing solid defensively, and that's what it takes to win championships.
And you know what, Bugs? I couldn't have said it any better. And man, you're firing me up right now talking this way. Man, your teammates, once they hear you talking like this, and the reason why I'm saying this is because a 99.9% chance this episode is getting released on Thursday, the day before, the day before Game 3 on Friday. Do you have a message to your teammates or to anyone on St. George de Beauce?
Well, I'd love to make a message out to the fans. Come out, I loved having you. I know my teammates love having you all coming out and cheering us on. We make a big difference. They had the wave going in Laval, and that rink goes all the way around. So it started in the third period. She was going around the wave, and she kept going. They didn't even have to start it. But for the fans, I don't know, message from my team. I talk to them. I'm a pretty vocal guy. I'm a big leader on our team. Yes. Even if I don't get on the ice, I make a difference just being on the bench.
Of course.
And so I'll make those comments with them. And for David Mel, you better be ready. I'm sure he is. I don't think he's as confident. I was ready the last game. We scored the empty netter, and I went out on their rink, and he didn't want to come out. He didn't come out. They didn't send him out in their rink.
Didn't send him out.
Yeah.
Did he at least get up? Was he ready?
No, he sat down and gave me one of these or something,
Okay.
So I think sometimes guys get enough, fighting's fun when you win all the time. But to be a real one, you got to be able to do it on. He's got to think. I think he's questioning things. He's not as confident as he once was, and so I think that's a big win on me doing a good job when he's ready. When he's not ready to step out there, So
for sure. Well, man, I'm pretty excited. I'm sure the fans, I'm sure you guys are gonna get a sellout, man. I'm like, you know what I mean? We're gonna be pumping this on Thursday, Parks, because this is a big episode for me. I'm gonna be pumping it, and I hope everybody hears it. And we got a message to everyone in Laval that come to the House of Pain.
There's the internet. The internet, you can watch the game on LNAH TV.
LNAH TV, right?
Yeah, so that's a big thing too for a lot, because a lot of the fans will be English speaking, and they might not be around. I know I got a lot of messages on Messenger this last week about guys from Lethbridge and here and all over the place that are following our team, because I wanted some English commentary, but I think guys just got to suck it up. I think that the one thing with the commentary with the LNAH TV is the away team is always the team that is watching, but they always have home team commentators. Like if we're playing in Jonquière, the team like Laval fans are watching in Jonquière, but it's going to be a Jonquière commentator, and so in St. George, the commentators are St. George, so you always got to watch with the bias.
Yeah. I hear you. Hey, great tip, man. That's a great tip. Tip.
Yeah,
man, that's exciting stuff, Parks. And I good luck to you, man. I'll be following along for sure, buddy. So best of luck to you, bro. And I love when Warriors go to battle, bro. So I'm really fired up to have the belt on the line once again, bro. Right?
Yeah.
Right now you're the holder. You're holding it, right?
Yeah, I'm holding it. And then, the most important thing is winning this championship and being there for my team.
Yes.
But doing this on the side time, I really do think it makes a difference. We all know it makes a difference in momentum and everything. I know those fights I had last Friday really. It probably made a difference between it being a tight game and us winning 7-2, because I dominated the fights and we dominated the game, kind of thing.
But you know how you impacted it, buddy? You know how you know? Well, who was the third star that game?
Yeah, exactly.
Who was he? Who was it?
Yeah, me. I was the third
You.
star.
See?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You think? Obviously, you were, bud. Everyone voted for you that you were the biggest impact. First and second star was probably what? The guy that scored the goals and then the goalie? And then Fox. That was the reason you guys won, right?
Yeah, no, that's a good feather in the cap. I thought about it later, and that was a good thing. I don't know how they picked the third stars, but that's the thing you can appreciate of the Quebec League, that they recognize that and give an opportunity for me to say I was third star in one of our playoff games, in the semifinal playoff game, and know I've made a difference in this championship.
100%, buddy, and thank you for sharing that. So now, listen, man, I'm such a big fan, and I was so fired up that I had to get right into the LNAH because I had to talk some current talk right off the hop with you. So I appreciate you being honest, entertaining, and correct. Okay, Mr. Lion. Yeah. So now I want to talk about Melville, Saskatchewan, my friend. I've heard so many things about Melville. You were born in Melville, correct?
Yes, exactly. That's where I'm from. The Melville Millionaires.
Yes. So team. Now tell me about the Parker family. I want to know about mom and dad. I want to know about if there's any siblings.
Well, yeah, there's me and three brothers. No, my sister.
Have three brothers.
Yeah, three brothers.
So there's four boys in the family.
Yeah, I lost one of them in 2012.
God bless his soul.
Yeah, miss him. He was a great player. He was probably one of the best of us. He was younger one. He was 10 years younger than me. But the rest of us brothers, I have an older brother named Scott Parker, like the tough guy from Colorado, but his name is, he's 2 years older than me, bigger than me, a little bit taller, and was always bigger than me. So
Did he
I had
play?
He played up to midget, like grade 12 midget. I think he won a provincial championship as a midget A in Melville. They won them. He was a player, but he didn't play junior. My brother Brett, who's 2 years younger than me, played. He's smaller. He's probably only about 5'10", and but he was more of a player, tough too. But he was a blackout fighter kind of guy, he would lose his shit, when he would
so he wasn't too technical like his brother the Lion.
No. He, even when we were growing up as kids, because that's how I got tough, because I had an older brother that was bigger than me, and I had to fight him all the time.
That's where I'm going with this, Park. So he was a guy that you always had to go with, the older one. And his name again, Park? Sorry, his name.
Scott.
So Scott. Same name as the original sheriff, Scott Parker. So Scott, you're saying was a little bit bigger than you. How big, bro?
Well, he was always 2 years older than me, but I think even right now, he's like a half-inch taller than me still.
Right on.
So I think I'm heavy right now because I'm carrying a lot of weight, but he used to be heavier.
He's almost 6'5".
No, I'm only about 6'2".
I thought you were 6'3", 6'4", Parks. You're bigger than you look, buddy.
No, I'm only 6'2".
Okay, so you're 6'2". So he's almost 6'3".
Yeah, maybe. I think.
Okay, right on. And you guys had to do it the honorable way all the way growing up, right? You guys were bumping heads, your brothers, there's sibling rivalry, there's everything, there's mom, dad, he did it. Why did you say that to them? There's every reason in the book, right?
Yeah. There's always reason. There was kind of rules, like you can't punch to the face rules, But the problem was when Brett blacked out, he was the littler one. Like if you ever got onto Brett and you passed his line where he like saw red, he didn't listen to any rules. So it was I would get away from him. He was almost scary because he was crazy. He'd be throwing punches to the face. But we grew up kind of that. My mom was a good woman, but she would just say, like, you guys get outside. If you're gonna fight, get outside.
Keep it out of the house.
Keep it out of the house. That's at least at least how it went, you know. So we had to get outside, but there's countless stitches. The night I went to Finland, when we had the fighting tournament in Finland, my head was cut. I don't know if you remembered all the blood I had.
Yeah.
And I had to get stitches after the thing, but it was the back of my head.
Yeah.
And it was because my brother Brett had got engaged, and we all went out and we were kind of partying, like celebrating, and we were drunk. And then me and my brother Scott got in. I don't know if it was that much of an argument, but we were wrestling outside on the street, and he kind of took me back, and my head hit a brick on the back.
No
and
way.
I got cut for stitches the
How
week
many
before.
days before Ice Warriors was that?
A week before. I think it was the Friday before the Saturday, so it'd be a week before. So I got dropped off at the university hospital. Got some doctor student to stitch me up, and then I went to Ice Warriors, and the stitches opened up.
Yeah.
And then I had to get them to restitch it. So I fought that whole tournament with this big, like it was a big gash. It was a good one like that too.
Jeez, man.
Yeah.
Let's because we brought it up. We might as well get into that now. So now, ladies and gentlemen, me and Derek Parker both have a very unique experience by, competing in a fight tournament. Now, this was your second one because you competed in the original one in 2006 out in where is it? Prince George?
Prince George, yeah, the hockey
and
enforcers.
You competed in that, right, Parks?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay, so you competed in that one, and I know that Charlie Nama was part of was part of that group. Charlie Nama is the CEO of the ICEWARS International. That's going to be May 21st in Enoch, Alberta, at the Three River Casino. But yeah, so we together were at Ice Warriors. Now this was 2010 in Finland, your second competition, right? Now, what did you think of that, brother? Wasn't that a pretty cool experience?
Oh yeah, it was unreal. It was awesome. I don't know. I went into ice hockey enforcers, and I got robbed against Mayrand. Like not a biased thing, but I met people all over that had seen that, and they said, "Oh yeah, you should have won that fight." I went into that. I think I was 21 years old, and I trained. I was in really good shape. I really went into that one, but that was a really good experience. That's where all the Quebec League found out who I was. There were some teams before that had an idea, but after that, that's where the Quebec League, that's when the phone really started going off the hook with the Quebec League trying to get me out there.
You're on the radar from that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man.
And but I was going to an American League camp. I went to an American League camp in Norfolk.
Yep.
And then I was in Norfolk, and then I was down in the East Coast League, and then I got a call from the Quebec League team. I'm making $425 a week in the coast, and they tell me they're going to give me $50,000 a year, plus three $5,000 bonuses. And I was really telling them to kind of screw off, like I'm staying here, Like I was like, well, maybe if it was 50 plus three $10,000 bonuses, and they called me back half an hour later, and they're like, we'll give it to you. And I was like, oh fuck, now what do I do? I was like, fuck, now I gotta tell my GM here and tell my coach here I'm in the East Coast League, and I don't even think I had money to get there. They had to send me some money to drive down there, so I drove back to Quebec. But that's how I ended up in Saint-Hyacinthe.
So now, yes. So now, and this is perfect. We're gonna get into Saint-Hyacinthe in English, pretty much almost right now. Right before we get into that, though, we're gonna talk about your first year pro, which I consider the year in Wichita.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we're talking about Wichita first, the Lion, because buddy, I'm a stat guy. I cannot believe. Now, do you consider that your first year pro?
Yeah, that's my first year pro. Okay. Yeah.
So now you went to Wichita. Now
that was the year of the lockout.
Yes, that's what I was just about to say. I'm going to remind the listeners, this is the 2004-2005 season, the NHL lockout year. So now you say, okay, well, so what? Well, so what is every other league was 1,000 times better because there was no NHL. It was a trickle-down effect. The AHL was the NHL, and then all the other leagues were like the AHL. Would you agree?
Yeah, very much so. There was definitely, it was a tough year to be playing pro hockey that year.
Extremely tough. Every team had 2-3 guys on their roster from the AHL down. Like, it was unbelievable, man. The CHL, I couldn't even imagine. That's the league that Wichita was in. Now, I want to read some stats off to our listeners. So Wichita Thunder, 2004-2005, Derek the Lion Parker. Okay, we got 54 games. We got 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points. So, ladies and gentlemen, you think to yourself, like, man, that's pretty respectable. That's like, the average, like, like lower second line, maybe higher third line numbers, like third line numbers. You know what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? 503 penalty minutes. Yes, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 500. So how many majors? Do you remember?
I think it was either 45 or 47.
Okay, so you almost cracked 50 majors. You got 500 PIMs. Such a hard thing to accomplish, brother. Such a hard thing to be able to stay healthy that long, to be able to do it.
Yeah, no kidding, for sure. No, that league that we played, it was a Central League, and they dressed 3 lines. It was just
was it a 3-1?
No, not
or
3
just
and 1.
3?
Just 3 even. 3 even and 6D. So I got to play, like, but I had just come out, like, if we back it up a little bit, if you watch some of my Melville Millionaire stats.
Yes. 36
with,
points. You man. In 55, you were almost a point per game with 300 penalty minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
For the millionaires. Yeah.
I was never, like, when it comes down to me playing, I was never a good skater. Like, we all know that. But I was actually a smart hockey player that knew my role, that embraced my role. So when I went down, I came down from the WHL because I probably should have been a WHL. I was a WHL. I was probably one of the toughest guys in the WHL, if not the toughest. I had to.
By your last season, right?
Yeah, well, even probably by
even before your last season.
Yeah, my 16-year-old year, I was fighting tough guys in that league.
Okay.
I probably, like, everybody has a story, but I probably could have got drafted when I was 17, but I got sent home in January for doing stupid off ice shit. And I'll be honest, I used to get in trouble off ice for doing, whatever. If I could give my head a shake when I was a kid, if I would have listened, and I'm sure there were people that told me, but I was a fucking teenager and I didn't listen. So those teenagers, but because I had 43 fights my 16-year-old year, and I was fighting 19-year-old tough guys that are, and this is the era of, like,
Eric Goddard, all these guys, right?
Eric Goddard was on my team,
Yeah.
I played with him my first year.
Yeah.
And him and Roger Maxwell are the only 2 guys I ever played with that were like, I'm going to go take the number 1 guy in my career.
I hear you,
Roger Maxwell, I could give credit to, like, that I was actually talking to Swanee about him the other day, and I was like, yeah, Maxie, actually, when I was with Maxie was like, I got this guy. And I was like, oh, you got him? Like, okay, because I always take the guy, the guy.
Yeah. No, hey, man, I was talking with Pete Worrell the other night. When you have another tough guy in the lineup, you played a little bit bigger because you knew that you didn't have to, like, kind of reserve yourself for, like, this guy and that guy and this guy. Like, you knew you only had to worry about him because he's got him, and then you could just do whatever you wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no. Well, those were the only 2 times when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
So Eric Goddard was a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
Because by the time I was 17, he wasn't there that year, and I was the guy, you know, like I was fucking ready to fight everybody. I thought I was the toughest guy in the league from the time I was 16 anyways, you know, in my opinion, you know?
Yeah. No,
like
I hear
was
you,
ready.
man.
And anyways, when I went back to junior A, because I got in trouble off ice and stuff, that was what it was. I was that much tougher than I was I was probably in my opinion, one of the toughest guys in the WHL. And then I dropped down to junior A.
That's
so
what I was about to say. So what happened when you got to Melville then, bud? Were you just terrorized? Did people run out of the arena?
I terrorized him. Is a good way to put it. You know, Sasha Pocklock was a 17-year-old in Notre Dame, and I played with him this year, and he was like, "Yeah, I remember you were so scary." You know, he was still like, to just remember, like, I just scared. And then I ended up playing on the second line with a guy named Sean Langan, who's a right-handed shot, littler guy, right-handed shot, can fucking score, smart player, and I would tell him, like, don't pass me the puck unless you need to, you know, like, I don't need to score. I'll just drive the net. I'll do this. And it was fine. I remember times in front of the net, I was like, you fucking touch him, I'll kill you. And he'd be like, yeah, come on, touch me. I dare you. I dare you. You know, he'd egg it on too. He's like, I dare you, you know? So, yeah, that was the thing. When I played junior A, I was a league tougher, you know, like I belonged in another league because of my toughness, and I got to play there. So there was a coach, Bob Beattie, in Humboldt. He always liked having the toughest guy, and he kept bringing in new guys. There was Dion Hyman to fight me. They brought this guy in from California. I remember I was fighting him too. All game, guys were like, don't fight him. He's brutal, you know, like, and he kept beaking me all bench and all across the benches the whole time. And then I finally got out there with him. I was like, let's fucking go. And I remember he switched up left on me, and I remember going, bad idea, and just went whack, about 3 in a row. He was fucking couldn't find his way to the box after they sent him back. They sent him back to California after. Yeah, Dion Hyman. You know Dion Hyman? Yeah, he was there. He was in Humboldt. He was the first guy. I remember him telling me he didn't want to fight me anymore.
Wow.
Like he was, yeah. I had this one time there's a video of it. People in Melville would remember it, and they still talk about it. Is I fought 3 guys on the same shift, because you know how I told you at the same time, you know, I told you I played with a real good goal scorer. So we were playing Humboldt. They took 2 5-minute penalties against us, bad on one of our better players, and we were in a playoff hunt, so we had to win the game. So we scored a bunch of goals on the power play, but then it was like, well, I still got to fucking make them pay for taking the penalties. And I was going out there, and I played with the 2 little guys, and I told them both, I'm like, hey, it's going to get messy out there. Just stay out of it. Yeah. Because the last thing I do is I want them to get hurt trying to save my ass, you know?
In the brawl, yeah.
You know? So I told him just stay out of it, and I ended up fucking fighting 2 guys at once. And then Bob Beattie and Craig Olnick went back to the bench, and then I think the coach center was like, "What the fuck are you doing here? Get back in there," because he was the toughest guy on the ice. Anyways, he's the guy that should have been fighting me, and then he came flying in, fighting 2 guys that looked up, and there's another one. And the beautiest part of probably the best part of the whole thing, okay, this is in Melville, Saskatchewan, right? In the old barn and going crazy. But earlier that week, one of my little brother Andre's friend, Carter Spratt, had we were at school skating, like the hockey players went skating with the kids, and we were playing hockey. And after he scored a goal, he did this whole Hogan down the ice. He did this one. He did that one. So thought it was a sweet move, you know, like, and I was like, what a beauty move this like 7-year-old kid was doing, or however old, like it would have probably been 9 years old. And so after I fought 3 guys, I already had this move in my toolbox that I just fucking give her one of these on the way
out after that.
I threw it out after that. I fought 3 guys. It was epic.
Wow.
It was probably the best. That was probably the best part of the whole thing.
I remember you you throwing that out at ICEWARS.
Yeah, I tried to get
before our match. You threw out, because I remember them telling us, like, try to pump up the crowd, try to do this, you know what I mean? And then so like I think I was the first guy to come out. And so I was like, hey, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna do some of these. Yeah, give me some of this, yeah. And then I go and I think I did a great job. And then I see the lion come out and he's like, you know, pretty much doing the same thing. And then he's like, yeah, and then the crowd goes nuts, and I'm like, oh man, I should have thought of something better.
Well,
that was great.
That comes from a kid, Carter Spratt. I got the move all. It's Hulk Hogan originally, but
yeah.
Give it.
Okay, so listen, the reason why I got a smile on my face is because this is the specific season that I would like to talk about, because I would like to acknowledge it. I would like the listeners to understand how I think of it and the way it should be looked at. Now, this is the 2005-2006 season. This is your first season in Saint-Hyacinthe, okay? They were still the Crystal, okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, Derek Parker, his first year in the league, we already kind of got an abbreviated version of the contract negotiations. Because that's when he was talking about coming to the Quebec League and the offers and the signing bonuses and whatnot. So now this is the team. So now, Parks, when you got to Saint-Hyacinthe, did you have any idea, man, how successful you were gonna be? Like, dude, I don't know it as well as you, but I know as much as I need to be able to appreciate it. I want you to talk about it. Because I think it's one of the most successful seasons of any pro hockey player on and off the ice. And okay, so give me 1 minute before you start. So ladies and gentlemen, this guy played 51 games, and that doesn't include the playoffs. This guy put up 6 points. It's not like he was a tap on the butt type of guy. This guy played another 500 penalty minute season, 508, second season in a row. It's got to be a record to have back-to-back 500 PIM seasons. It's got to be. I got to look that up, Parker. So now, ladies and gentlemen, from what's recorded, it's probably more. For what's recorded, I got 72 fighting majors. 72 fighting majors in 51 games. This is the toughest league in the world, ladies and gentlemen. So now, this guy comes in. He's from out of town. He comes into the city. He's dominating the league. He's beating everybody. The thing I'm most excited about now, Parks, is your style right now. You've gone back to that season, brother. You're better because you've corrected things, but the hands up, the spin when it needs to be, protecting yourself and coming in and grabbing and getting it and then controlling the guy. That's from this season. You dominated the season. Steve Bosse would come into the arena in Saint-Hyacinthe and you would beat him without getting hit.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Bro.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead.
I remember it. It was definitely, I had a great season, you know? And, you know, for anybody to be, that was a good way to say it, successful for any pro hockey player, you know?
Bro.
For what
perfect.
Yeah, I did. I didn't lose a clear fight all year.
Yeah.
I think I had maybe 2 black eyes. I felt like I think I got hit 6 or 7 times that year. That I was, you know, and I was really dominant that year. That was a great year. So I came in there, that and 72 fights. I had hockey enforcers that summer. Then I went to an American League camp, and then I went to at East Coast League games, and so throw in another 5 or 6 at least, you know.
Was that was that the AHL camp that you just mentioned? Was that the time that you went to the Chicago Wolves camp?
No, the Norfolk.
Okay, so when
Admiral.
was the Chicago Wolves?
After, so I had always kind of had a little bit of regret, I guess you call it, kind of like I wish I would have stayed in the American League system, played in the coast, and especially after having that good of a year. But I always knew I needed to be a good skater. And what I did the one year, I took out a loan, a $10,000 loan, and I did 8 weeks in a row of power skating. And I swear to God, I was a good skater. By the end of it, like, just think of, because I was already in MMA shape. I'd learned from mixed martial arts that I could train myself to do anything, because at the one year I couldn't kick with my left leg, and the guy told me, he was like, just kick the bag 200 times every day, you know. And then soon, by the end of the summer, I could kick you in the face with my left leg, you know, by training everything. So, and I was in a good enough shape. You should have seen the kind of shape I was after doing 8 weeks of power skating in a row.
So this is right before the Wolves camp?
Yeah, Chicago Wolves camp.
Okay.
At Chicago Wolves camp, they had their fitness test was blue line back, red line back, blue line back, all the way down and back on the ice. It was a skating fitness test, and I won it.
Oh yes, we did that at Sabres camp too. I know exactly what you're talking about, man. That is a crazy test. You won that?
I won that. You know how bad of a skater I'm always last. I was always last on that thing. And,
wow.
And I won it.
No,
it was crazy.
The reason why sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, to tell you about the Wolves camp, if it hadn't been for money and guys with signed contract and stuff, like, I was definitely like surprised the hell out of, you know, no one was expecting me to be that effective. But by the time they started sending any guys down from the NHL and guys on contract, they just had no room for me. And the thing was, but it was crazy because I was still the same player that loved to run guys over. But the difference was I could fucking get there fast enough, and my edges were good. You know, wow. You know, they couldn't do it. So I had this one shift. We were playing Milwaukee in the exhibition game. What's that?
At the Allstate Arena or in Milwaukee?
No, it was for the Wolves. It was in our practice rink.
Still. Okay, right on.
Yeah. But I remember I was coming down the neutral zone. The guy top of the circles. I came in there speed. He's coming upwards. I ran him over so much. One of those hits that you fall over on the other side of him. I hit him so hard I was on the other side of him. Got up, skated back into his zone. Someone's coming up the wall, and I fucking ran him over. And I just speed. And like, you could actually go and look on YouTube. On YouTube, I have video that says Derek Parker skating. If you search scared, and it's me at one of my power skating camps, like about 5 weeks in, and you can see me actually flying. Like the guy picks apart my stride, but it's like very minor. Like I'm fucking flying down the ice.
Wow.
And then I get up and I skate, and then to the right wing there around there too, and I run over another guy, and the ref just gives me a penalty because I ran 3 guys
like,
over.
You gotta stop killing people out here, man.
I skated by their bench. And I called on the whole bench in the American League. And I went to the box. Jason Christie was the assistant coach there. He came over. He's like, "That's a good penalty. Don't worry." In the box,
they have anybody? Any meat on the other side?
No, I don't think so. I think I'd fought. They had somebody the game before. I know, was it Rockford we played? I'd fought a guy that was like a 9-year vet, 6'5" guy. I can't remember his name, but made him bloody. I remember the night after that game that I had those 3 hits, they were making cuts with the Wolves, and I was like, I actually went into the office like, they can't cut me. I actually knew, I just knew they just couldn't cut me. And then what ended up happening was I was suspended from my earlier time in the American League. I got a 2-game suspension because when I was with the Norfolk Admirals, we were playing against Philly, and Tristan Grant ran over Rory McMahon right in the neutral zone, and Rory McMahon came to the box, and I was like, I got him. I jumped on the ice and I went and fought him because that's what I fucking do, and then they gave me a 2-game suspension for leaving the bench to fight or something like that. So I still had a 2-game suspension. So when this came up, when I was with the Wolves, they're like, well, you're suspended for 2 games, so we're going to send you down. And then there was a lot of guys coming down. Now we had 5 lines for guys coming down from the NHL kind of. And, it was a while before I was going to get back. I actually they sent me to Bloomington, and then I got released from Bloomington. It was crazy. Like, why would you send me down here and then release me? But they already had like a team, and then I had to go to, just driving around the States. I went to Flint. I think my contract was $275 a week. That's all they were going to give me, And I'm like, well, I can't play for this,
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. So the reason why I wanted to bring up the Wolves part is because there's been a few different times, like in our career where we've taken each other's spots, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like you took my spot on the marquee when I left.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I took your spot on Saint-Hyacinthe when you left, right?
Yeah.
And we meet up in Finland. You beat me in a split decision. Like, we've had a big rivalry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's awesome because I know that you're a warrior and I know that you're a real one. And it's awesome to go to battle with other guys that enjoy the battle. Right? It's awesome. So now the reason why I brought that up is because I had an experience with the Chicago Wolves as well. Right? And I kind of want to see, it doesn't say it, but see, neither of us can say on Hockey TV because we didn't play an official regular season game. But buddy, I was in Chicago, that team, until Christmas before I came to Saint-Hyacinthe. Never played 1 game. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I want to explain to the listeners, the Chicago Wolves are like the New York Yankees, the American Hockey League. They have an unlimited budget. They got like 10 veterans on the team, all making over $100,000. They sit out 4 or 5 guys. They're all making over $100,000. They just have it like that. You know what I mean? So if you're not part of their NHL system, it's very, very hard to play there. I had heard that I talked to someone that went to that training camp when you were in Chicago. They were so impressed. They're like, honestly, Mac, like Parker, he came to camp. He was in shape. I think he won like that must be what they're talking about. He won some fitness competitions, the skating.
Yeah.
He was beating people up in preseason. He's running people over. Like he pretty much made the team. Like he made the team. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's awesome, right? But I had heard that, so I wanted to hear like your version of how that camp was. How it all makes sense that you put all that investment and time and energy and work into your skating. You made that team. The guy said that you made it, right? So like you made the team. They wanted to sign you and sent you down, right? Like you made it. Like they wanted you back up. There was just no room at the time, correct?
Yeah, there was just no room. Like it just
at the time,
like you said, especially like you say that about the Chicago Wolves or like the New York Yankees.
New York Yankees of the AHL.
If you're not in the NHL system, there's not going to be room for you because they got all the guys. Yeah. That's an accurate thing. Yeah, that's how I felt. I made the team that year. Like I said, they were making all the cuts up. They're the camp, and I remember thinking, I'm like, they can't cut me. I'm like, if they cut me, like I'll just ask for the other team's GM, the GM of the other teams. The other team because he probably wants me right now,
Well, the guy that put 4 of our guys out tonight saying he wants to play for us.
Yeah,
dude. Exactly. So, dude, I want to quickly go back to the year of the Crystal. Now this season, I'm telling you, Parts, I've never seen a year where there's a guy that was more dominant in a league than you in the LNAH 2005-2006 season for the Saint-Hyacinthe, Crystal de Saint-Hyacinthe. So now, Fred Tremblay, Freddie, right? He was our guy when we were there. Yeah, I know he was your guy when you were there. He was my guy when I was there, right? Fred was the general manager, but he was also the guy that tried to be like hands-on. He wanted to be like a friend as well as the GM, right? Yeah. Is he like that with you as well?
Exactly, yeah.
Overall, a good guy.
The first year, he wasn't even the GM. He was just kind of a friend of the team, you know. There was a really good guy, like, helped me out quite a bit. I used to go ride horses even on his place. I loved it.
Yeah. So now you were pretty smart as well, like off the ice when you were in this league. Now, a lot of guys, especially at this time when the tough guys were making so much money, like, you know, I had Jason Bowen on the show. I had Jason Clark on the show, right? Guys that were in the league at that time. Yeah. And they were telling stories about the money and the partying. And trust me, we all did that. But Mr. Parker, you also made good investments. Like, didn't you buy a house in Saint-Hyacinthe?
Well, I don't know if I was that smart. I grasped at straws of trying to do right things. So
you meant well.
So I meant well. I grasped at straws. I know my first year I spent all my money on partying. I didn't get 20,000 of the money they promised me in the first year, but I still got paid pretty well for 22-year-old kid, you know.
Well, let's be honest though, Parker. Okay, let's be honest now, because that was then, this is now. The league is very legit now. Everything's check. There's no funny business around any of the teams. Very respectable league, the LNAH now. But back in the day, it wasn't so much. We were all getting paid in cash. There was bonuses. There was big money. So let's be honest. Like a number one at that time, $1,000 a game.
Yeah, it was 50 grand for the year over 30 weeks because they weren't paying us by the game. So I was making, I think it was 1666 every 2 weeks. Every week. Was it a week?
Yeah, no, every week. 30, every Tuesday was practice. Remember? Tuesday practice. I was paid.
It was getting paid in the check. It was getting paid in the check at that time. It wasn't cash because we could collect employment insurance in the summer.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. But now, Mr. Parker, but because you were the highest paid guy on the team, because you were the biggest attraction on the team, you know, your situation was a little bit different. Other guys probably got paid cash just because it wasn't worth it to them to get what they were paid in a check. Where yours was a little bit more, so you could do that. Right?
Maybe that's how it all went down.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure, 100% for sure. So now, okay, but you're saying so it didn't work out, maybe in your words, the way that you wanted it to, but you had the intentions to buy property, which you did, and the intentions to be smart and not just to go and party, right? Like you must have done really well when you bought that house.
I think I sold it for the $10,000 more the year later.
Right on.
You know.
Right on.
You know.
I just remember, bro. I remember.
I didn't lose my shirt
living in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Brett Needham was living in there.
Oh yeah.
It was man, I'm having a brain freeze with some names, but dude, it was awesome. It was a great house that you bought. You know, I think it was a good investment.
Had some good
Glad
fucking
that you made
parties.
some money.
Good fucking parties. It was close to the zipper.
Yeah, buddy. I had to point that out, man, because that year, because I knew that you bought a house. I knew the type of season that you had, and I'm looking at it as a former player. I'm like, dude, this guy just dominated on and off the ice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Buying houses, leading the league in majors, just beating everybody.
They actually made me part owner of the team.
I remember that.
Because they wanted me to play, and I was like, you'd be part owner. And I remember saying to them, and I was like, Yeah, but he lost money last year. Like, why would I want to be part of it?
I hear you.
And then they said, if we lose money, you don't lose money. But if we make money, you can make money. I was like, okay, well, I'll be a part of that. But I went to a couple meetings, owners meeting, but I was just like a player in there. Like, I was like, no, we want this, like this, we need this kind of thing. Then I don't think it worked out because I was too much of a player. I couldn't put aside being a player. I was fighting for all the players to get things.
Of course.
Yeah.
So now one guy that I just want to talk about before we move on is Manu. Talk about Brashear.
Oh, fuck.
Tell the listeners who this man is.
What a warrior he is. He's probably about 5'7".
You think so?
5'8".
I was going to give him 5'8", but 5'7" could be.
Yeah, 5'8", maybe 5'8". We'll go 5'8", but he's a fucking lefty, and he used to have to fight all the number ones before I came in, and then you were there, and lefty 5'8", and he would win these fights because he usually just waited to fight. The fights would go long enough that he could take it to him with his cardio. That's what his thing was. But what a man that guy is.
I remember. Sorry, go ahead, Parts.
No, that's it.
I remember when I first met Brashear, I found out that the man didn't drink. The man didn't ever smoke. The man was just a nice dad. He owned this, or was like the foreman or the owner of some business that like built houses, I think. And like, I'm just like, man, this guy's an impressive guy. Like, he's got his stuff straight, man. No beautiful wife, kids, like, you know what I mean? Good guy to look up to, eh? Yeah, for sure.
Manu.
It was easy for the fans to get behind him, eh? Jeez. So, dude, I wanted to, obviously, I also wanted to talk about Jonquière. I want to talk about Jonquière. When I left Jonquière, that was one of the times when you took my spot. And, you wore number 23 as well, right?
Yeah, I did.
And I want to talk about Dean Gascos, and I want to talk about the Marquis de Jonquière fan base and how nice their arena is in your mind.
Yeah, well, with the fans are great there. And it's a real. You say about the arena; it's a great arena to play in.
The Palais des Sports.
Yeah, and I always get about. Well, it seems pretty full in there all the time,
Yeah.
And it was always really good fans. And I guess with Dean Ligasecos as our coach, I played with Dean in Trois-Rivières a few seasons earlier.
That's right.
And then after my brother passed away, he ended up talking to me. He said he had they were winning it. They wanted to win a championship. They had a championship team, and he said that I was the guy that they needed. And I still hadn't won a championship yet in my career. And he knew that. He said I was the guy that he needed, and I went in there for one goal in mind. Wasn't to dominate the league for myself or anything else or whatever, but to make sure that we won a championship, and we ended up winning that year against Sorel in the final. So this year, I'm planning the same thing, like I'm hoping that we're going to win this year. Sorry,
100%, buddy. So now there's a couple things that I want to talk about, but before we're done here, the first thing is I want to talk about Gabby Rock, because he was your partner that year, right?
Yeah,
he was your Cruz brother, Gabby.
Yeah.
But what I really want to talk about is this is going to be a story where, guys that go to battle for each other, anyone that plays sports, you don't just have to be a hockey player, guys. Anyone that's a teammate goes to battle for their teammates, right? When you see your teammate get hurt, especially when there's a cheap shot done, you have to spring to action. If you're a character guy, it doesn't matter. It's like if you're gonna get a 2-game suspension, don't worry, I got him. It's like Mr. Parker, it's an automatic thing when there's a guy that knows his role properly. There was a situation where there was a saga with Donald Brashear, right?
With
Rivière de Loup. Okay?
Yeah.
Explain what Brashear did to Gabby, and then explain your reaction, what you did after that happened.
Well, there was even more there's history before
With the car
game.
and all that.
Yeah, I don't know of something about going to court with Eric LaBelle when I played.
Yeah.
With Eric LaBelle.
Well, let's just start with this with what he did to Gabby, and then we'll get into that stuff after. But I want to know what he did to Gabby and your reaction that game. What happened in Rivière-du-Loup?
Well, I knew that there was some history, and we were going into the game, and I knew, and he was playing on Brashear was playing on the other side, and I knew Gabby had a little bit of kind of some worries, you know, and I just went up to Gabby. Don't worry, I got him. You know.
So Gabby, sorry to interrupt you. Just for the listeners, Gabby knew that Brashear was out to get him this game. Is that what you're saying? Okay,
Yes.
so Gabby knew. He's like, Brashear's going to get me this game. And then you, to keep him calm, said, don't worry, I'm going to fight him tonight, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? I got him. And I remember actually that game, I remember in the warm-up, kind of like my juices were actually kind of flowing. I was kind of like, whoa, shit, I got someone. I feel like I'm in the WHL when I was 16 years old, kind of like, I don't know who's going to win this one. This is a big fight,
well,
you know?
Big Brash, man.
I'm not going to. Yeah. And tried to fight him again a couple times. And what happened? We were in the last 2 minutes. Well, the one thing is Brashear was carrying the puck the one time, and fucking Rock ran him. You know, Gabby Rock, he's a pretty good body checker.
Yeah.
You know, he absolutely ran over Brashear, left him sitting on the ice on his ass, got up on his ass and ran him over the one time. And then I was on the ice and I went and got in between Brashear and Gabby. So I kind of stopped him, you know. And then we were out there at the last minute and asked Brashear, like, are we going to go or whatever? And he didn't want to go. And I feel like he deserves enough respect that he doesn't want to go. Then I'll let him not go. And so we're playing the shift and I'm beside him and he goes by the net and I'm like, hey, Brashear, take it easy. And then the puck goes down to their end. We're back in our end. And then all of a sudden, Brashear takes about 3 hard strides. And he sees Gabby Rock in the back, Gabby Rock's back, and he fucking suckers Gabby Rock right in the back of the head. It was brutal. It was bad. If it happened in the NHL, it'd be like a season suspension. You know?
Well, that was like what kind of like, I mean, it was a stick, but it was like what McSorley did to him, kind of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was probably worse. It was probably
really?
worse.
What he did to Gabby?
What he did to Gabby, yeah.
So he hit him that hard, like he connected that hard?
Right in the back of the head. You know, like I feel bad that I didn't stop it. You know, like I watched it. It was like right in the back of the head.
You were too far away.
Saw his numbers while I was right beside him, but then he took 2 strides. We weren't really skating, and then he went, and then I was, you know, he kind of took off right beside me, and then we came over the top, and I dropped my stuff, obviously, flying over the top. Both benches cleared. I was on top of him, elbow smashing Brashear.
Really?
Until, well, because by that time, after that sucker, you know, like now it's everything I can do to get at you. We eventually stood up, and then we kind of had a fight. I remember Brashear was breathing really hard, trying to hold, but he was strong. He was really strong. And then we spun around. We spun around. And then when we were down, he's kind of suckered me when we were down and the refs were in there, but whatever. Yeah, I don't really like Brashear that much. I don't respect him.
A little bird told me that someone's chain might have broke.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I ended up with Brashear's chain. So I know in the fight I broke his chain. I took his chain off when we were fighting. And after the game, the trainer came in there like, hey, whose chain is this? And I was like, oh, that's Brashear's. And I was like, you know what? Give me that. I'll take that. And I kept his chain.
Yeah. That's a great story, man. I really appreciate it. I know the listeners were probably just they're literally on the edge of their seat listening to that one, buddy, because everybody knows who you're talking about, and you know what I mean. He was obviously a big NHL name, and but that just goes to show that even a guy like Donald Brashear, he's on the same level as every other number one in that league. You know what I mean? It's not he's NHL tough. No. It's he's whatever. Guys can beat him. He can beat guys. Anybody can beat anybody. And that's the way it is in the league. And honestly, Parks, like, dude, I had a really, really, really good time in this episode, buddy. I'm gonna put you on the spot though. Are you willing to come back for a part 2?
I'd love to. That's it was awesome, a lot of fun.
Yeah. I love doing the shows with guys that I'm similar age to. And you know what I mean? And I really appreciate the insight that you gave in the stories, bro, and the honesty that you gave. And then I'm hoping the listeners could recognize the true warriors when they talk about fighting. You know what I mean? Because like I said, we can't win them all. And we can correct ourselves and come back for battle again.
Exactly.
That's it, buddy. So I want to thank you again for coming on the show. I want to thank the listeners for tuning in to another episode of The Sheriff, featuring special guest, my buddy, the Lion, Derek Parker. And good luck on Friday at the House of Pain in Laval. Guys, if you are in anywhere near the Montreal area, get your ticket to the Colisée de Laval, Saint George against the Northern Oil Tankers of Laval. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I think so. I just call it the Pétroé.
In français, oui.
Yeah, Pétroé,
hey, Parks, you're bilingual. Promote the game on Friday en français.
En français. Viens nous jouer au Colisée de Laval vendredi soir, 20h. J'aimerais que vous tous soyez là, le 7e joueur.
Merci, mon chum. J'apprécie.
Bienvenue.
Awesome, buddy. We'll see you next time, guys. Woo!